right, 8th grade scholars, this video is on 1.6, which is all about the development of ancient Afro-Eurasian religions. So just to recap briefly, we started this entire unit talking about Paleolithic age, where people migrated out of East Africa for a variety of push-pull factors, hunting and gathering their food, and then at the end of the Ice Age, with the change in animals and the change in climate, people started to settle down and started to grow their own food instead of chasing after their food. And then eventually, in several areas, including the river valley areas, but also in Mexico with the Olmecs and the Andean region with the Chavin, these civilizations became experts at farming for a variety of reasons, farm more products than their population needed, and therefore not everybody has to be a farmer. And so you have people going into a variety of other trades, including being scribes or writers and pottery makers and craftsmen and people who sell things at market. These are all creating these complex civilizations, and religion developed throughout ancient Afro-Eurasia at the same time. So in this set of lessons, we're going to be looking at the declining significance of animism and complex urban societies. So animism was something that was around since Paleolithic times. Then we're going to look at how religion was used to establish political authority. So the kings told their population that they were chosen by God. And then we're going to look at the origins and the impact of the first monotheistic religions. So our goal for these 3 sections is to examine the continuities in the development of ancient Afro-Eurasian religions and also their impact on the state where they were created. And our questions are, to what extent did the aims and influence of religion change over the course of the ancient period? And to what extent did changes in religion reflect political and social changes of the ancient period? So religion and political and social changes, like hierarchy, definitely are related. So we're going to first look at that declining significance of animism and complex urban societies. We live in a complex urban society. So hunters and gatherers, the Paleolithic age, were polytheists, meaning they believed in many gods, and they were also animists. They believed that animals and plants and natural phenomena like rain all had spiritual properties. Their rituals and their sacrifices attempted to influence those spirits, to make those spirits look favorably upon them. Pastoralists kept many of those animist traditions. For example, pastoralists believed in gods that protected the pastoralists, just like the pastoralists protected their herds. With sedentary agriculture and the formation of cities, especially along those river valleys, religion focused more on farming concerns, such as good rainfall and also favorable river flow. So in South Asia, the Vedas, which is the religious text, had gods that were related to the sun, lightning, and rain. And down here you have a Vedic god. And in ancient Egypt, priests worshiped gods that were related to the flooding of the Nile and also to the movement of the sun. Over time, sedentary communities gained greater understandings of agriculture, and they could control nature rather than leaving it up to the gods. So, for instance, they could master irrigation, and they had those bronze tools that they could use to help them to dig canals in those that thick, moist soil. So because they could control nature, the focus of these polytheist religions moved from the natural world, like making the god of the rain or the sun happy, and instead to human concerns, for example, protecting a city. So here, for instance, you have a warrior god. Here at Mesopotamia, you have a god of scribes and writing, which is very important to run a city. And then here you have also, this is another warrior god. So religion is absolutely used to establish political authority. So in the earliest cities, political and religious leaders established themselves as social elites. So they were on the top of that pyramid. As states and empires developed from these cities, political leaders justified their greater authority over the people on the basis of religion. God told me that I should lead you. You don't want to make the gods unhappy. So in Vedic South Asia, the early kings depended on the rituals of the priests and the Vedas to reinforce their rule and authority. So here, for instance, in the Vedic South Asia, they had a horse sacrifice ritual that was meant to prove the king's or the leader's authority. And here's worship rituals for the Vedas down here below. In Shang China, which is like the first Chinese dynasty, kings claimed that by connecting to their ancestors through these religious rituals, that gave them the power to control nature, as well as giving them military and political powers. So they're claiming that they can talk to their ancestors through these religious rituals. Here are, from the Shang dynasty, some oracle bones that were used to help with this political authority from the Shang kings. In the Zhou China, which is the dynasty after the Shang, the mandate of heaven justified the king's authority by claiming that through his ancestors, the king was chosen by the ancient god called heaven, and therefore brought political order and natural order to earth. So this bolstered the authority of the Chinese rulers in stable times. So when times are good, both in the natural world, like we don't have floods or disasters, and also politically, then the king is doing heaven's work on earth. So the heaven, the God of heaven, is happy. However, this also undermined the political authority of the king in times of natural disasters and political disasters. When either of those two things happened, it was seen as a punishment from heaven for the king of using his power. So the heaven is unhappy with how the king is running things and is causing these natural disasters and or these political disasters. In Babylon, also known as Mesopotamia, and Egypt, rulers claimed that the gods provided guidance and approved of their actions. So the pharaoh, for instance, was seen as a god on earth and was seen as the middleman between the gods and the people. So we're going from polytheism and animism, which both of those started during Paleolithic times, and now we're in these complex urban societies, which still have multiple gods, and now we're going to move towards these first monotheistic religions. So towards the end of the ancient period, and the end of the ancient period is around 600 BCE. So towards the end of that ancient period, religious beliefs and practices became more human-centered and more metaphysical or spiritual. So it became less trying to make the god of rain or the god of the sun happy, and also less about the leader being happy. So here on the top, you have the old ways. So these are polytheistic religions, multiple gods in Egypt. And then down here, these are more human-centered, spiritual. These are the two examples of the first monotheistic religions. So early monotheistic religions, monotheistic meaning belief in one God, they focused on morality more than on controlling nature. And two of the earliest monotheistic religions were Judaism and Zoroastrianism. So Judaism is a monotheistic religion whose God is all-knowing. So the sacred laws of Judaism were recorded in the Torah, and here are two men reading the Torah. And the Ten Commandments, these right here, is one of the oldest carvings of the Ten Commandments that is part of the Torah. And the Torah states that devotion to God is accomplished through moral and ethical behaviors, not through rituals. So by being a good person and doing good deeds, you are going to show your devotion to God. Doesn't matter about following all the rituals. Zoroastrianism, which is a monotheistic religion that was founded in Persia, which is present-day Iran, they had a holy book called the Avesta, and that outlines the monotheistic religion and offers specific ethical and moral behaviors, also focusing on good deeds, good words, good actions. Both Judaism and Zoroastrianism were portable. They had a religious text. So both of these religions were not centered around a local god. So we didn't have to go to a specific city where a specific temple was created for a specific god to go pay our tribute, to pay our respects, to do our rituals, nor was it centered around a sacred location. So because both of these religions are text-based that believe in one God that's universal, so not just a God for their people, these religions could be practiced anywhere in the world. And we know that to be true. So here you have a map of where Judaism is practiced around the world. And here, the map on the right, you have areas of the world that have a population of people who follow Zoroastrianism. That is it for our notes and presentation on 1.6. Hopefully, you're able to see how, as society progressed, that the religious practices of people progressed, going from that polytheism and animism to seeing the leaders as gods on earth, to then believing in one universal God and not needing a specific location in order to practice one's religion.